It was supposed to be a peaceful family moment, a sunny royal outing with smiles, laughter, and children running about without cameras shaping the day. But in one shocking turn, everything changed. Alarming claims emerged that Prince Andrew had misbehaved toward young Princess Charlotte, and within hours, Prince William's calm restraint snapped. The future king acted with force, stripping Andrew's royal title and ordering him out of their lives. Now, the palace is in meltdown, the public is furious, and one horrifying question hangs over the monarchy. So, what has been the fallout? Let's break it down. The day everything broke. It began on a warm afternoon at a royal equestrian event, the kind of polished family appearance where everyone is expected to smile, wave, and pretend the royal world is perfect. Cameras clicked. Horses trotted. The atmosphere was calm on the outside, but behind the stables, away from the crowd and noise, something darker was already forming. Princess Charlotte had stepped away with her nanny and one security officer to take a short break. She was cheerful, brushing a small pony, enjoying a quiet moment before returning to the spotlight. But she was not alone for long. Prince Andrew appeared. Everyone knew his mood could shift without warning. Arrogant, entitled, easily angered. He carried the energy of a man who believed rules were for everyone except him. And lately, he walked with a bitterness that seemed to grow each passing year. He spotted Charlotte and walked over, hands clasped behind his back, acting like a man who still had authority. Charlotte greeted him politely, as she had been raised to do. But Andrew wasn't looking for polite greetings. He wanted control. He wanted power, and most importantly, he wanted someone to obey him without question. Even a child. He told Charlotte to stand straighter. Then he ordered her to fix her posture again. Then he told her she was holding the brush wrong. His tone sharpened with every sentence. What began as instructions quickly turned into barking commands. Charlotte hesitated. She wasn't being rude. She wasn't talking back. She was just confused. She lightly shook her head and tried to continue brushing the pony the way she preferred. That tiny act of independence was enough to ignite his temper. Andrew stepped closer, voice low but harsh, scolding her as if she were his property. Charlotte again tried to pull away, mumbling that she wanted to go back to her mother. And that was the moment his anger snapped. He grabbed her by the arm, not a gentle touch, not a guiding hand. A tight, aggressive grip. Charlotte froze. Her small body stiffened as she looked up at him in shock. She tried to twist away, but his fingers dug into her arm, forcing her to face him. The nanny immediately stepped forward, telling him to stop. But Andrew glared at her with the fury of a man who believed no one had the right to challenge him. He hissed at Charlotte to listen when he speaks. He told her she needed discipline. He ordered her to look him in the eyes. His grip tightened again. Charlotte winced in pain, her breath shaking, fear spreading across her face. The nanny raised her voice this time, demanding he release the princess. Andrew barked back at her, telling her to stay out of it. Then he jerked Charlotte's arm again, pulling her closer like she was a disobedient servant, not a child of the future king. But Andrew made a mistake. The semi-private corner he chose wasn't as hidden as he thought. A member of William and Kate's security team turned the corner at the perfect moment and saw everything. He froze for a split second, taking in the scene. Charlotte trapped in Andrew's grip, tears filling her eyes. The nanny terrified, Andrew raging. Then the officer stepped forward and intervened. He demanded that Andrew let her go. Andrew barked back, insisting he was handling family matters. The officer didn't budge. He called for backup. The nanny wrapped her arms around Charlotte the moment Andrew's grip loosened. Charlotte broke down crying. Within minutes, word reached Kate. When she arrived, her expression turned to ice. She pulled Charlotte close and shielded her with her arms, her eyes locked on Andrew with a stare that could cut through stone. Kate didn't scream. She didn't curse. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than any explosion. And when William was pulled aside and told what happened, everything shifted. The calm mask he wore for the public shattered in an instant. His jaw clenched, his fists tightened. His world narrowed to one single reality. His daughter had been harmed by his own uncle. In that moment, there were no cameras, no royal smiles, no diplomatic words. Only a father, and a man who had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. But a week later, just as everyone stopped talking about it, Prince William dropped a bombshell that rocked the palace walls. What exactly did he do? Keep watching to find out. William fights back. 1 week after the disturbing incident, when the palace halls were still buzzing with whispers and tightened jaws, Prince William did something he had never done before. He went directly to Twitter and dropped a message that sent shockwaves through every royal watcher, reporter, and gossip room across the world. He did not tag anyone. He did not hint at a name. He did not include a palace crest or a polished photo. Just one raw sentence from a furious father who had reached his limit. "My family will always come first. Anyone who harms my daughter and still expects to remain close to us is mistaken." Those 20-something words hit harder than a press conference, harder than a palace memo, harder than any official royal response. It wasn't cold. It wasn't distant. It was personal. The future King of England had just issued a warning, and everyone knew exactly who it was aimed at: Prince Andrew. Within minutes, debate exploded online. Royal commentators were stunned that William went public instead of using palace channels. Why would he broadcast a threat to someone within his own bloodline? What happened between those walls that pushed him to break royal silence? And most importantly, why now? People began digging, and what they found made the entire picture even darker. For years, criticism had quietly built around William's household: snide gossip, whispered comments, subtle jabs, and bitter little rumors that dripped like poison into the royal atmosphere. But it wasn't directed at William. It was aimed at Kate. And the more Andrew's influence faded, the harsher that energy became. Kate was attacked for being too perfect, too polite, too calm, too composed, too well-dressed, too proper, too private. 1 week she was called boring. Next, she was cold, then distant, then fake, then unfriendly. No matter what she did, someone always had a stone to throw. When the old stolen bikini photos resurfaced, Kate on holiday with Pippa, relaxing, unaware of long-lens cameras hiding in the trees, William had burned with rage. He couldn't stop the tabloids that time, and he never forgot the helplessness he felt watching vultures pick at the woman he loved. Then came attacks on her parenting. She was too strict, too protective, too private with her children. Not enough screen time, too few public friends, too much shielding. Everything she did for her kids was twisted into something to mock. And through all of it, Kate stayed silent, graceful, calm, unshaken in public. But William remembered every bruise gossip left behind. Now it had escalated. Now it wasn't the media. It wasn't outsiders. This time, someone from inside the family, his own uncle, had made his little girl feel small, unsafe, and powerless. Andrew's behavior at the horse show, the way he grabbed Charlotte's arm, the way he leaned into her space, the way he acted like she belonged beneath him. It crossed a line William refused to ignore. That night, while Charlotte slept curled against Kate and the palace lights dimmed, William stayed awake in his study. No pacing, no shouting. Just a silent, simmering storm as he reviewed staff briefings and security notes. He read every detail of what Andrew had done, every witness note, every guard report. And the more he read, the clearer his decision became. There would be consequences. Andrew would no longer be treated as a misunderstood relative who simply made mistakes. Not after this. not after touching Charlotte in a way that left her shaken. William wasn't going to allow Andrew access. No more private moments. No more family-only spaces. No more quiet tolerance. He would protect his daughter, even if the threat shared his last name. When Andrew's name vanished from the guest list of an upcoming Windsor family event, insiders noticed immediately. When he failed to appear beside senior royals days later, reporters knew something had shifted. There was no announcement, no statement. But William's message was crystal clear. Hurt my child, and you lose your place. I don't care who you are. What unsettled the public wasn't just the decision, it was the finality of it. This wasn't about politics. This wasn't about protocol. This was a father drawing a line in steel. Because the real danger wasn't one incident with Charlotte. It was the belief that Andrew still held the privilege to get close, to touch, to influence, to intimidate, even after everything. William vowed that era was finished. But behind closed doors, Andrew saw things differently. In his mind, he was the victim, the sidelined prince, the disrespected brother, the forgotten son. And when he found out William had cut him off, forbidden him from private access, and sent a warning to the world, Andrew's ego ignited like gasoline. And that was when Andrew got angry and replied, what venom did he spit back, and how far did he go to strike at William next? Let unraveled the shocking twist. Andrew's breaking point, his explosive reaction, shakes the palace. When the news finally reached Prince Andrew, the reaction inside his residence was explosive. The moment he learned that he was being quietly frozen out of royal spaces after the incident with Princess Charlotte, something inside him snapped. He wasn't calm. He wasn't reflective. He was furious. He stormed through the room, pacing like a man who had lost control of everything. He slammed a door, then another, muttering under his breath about lines being crossed and respect being taken from him. He kept repeating the same phrase. They think they can do this to me. They think I will just accept it. To Andrew, this was more than a punishment. It was humiliation. In his mind, he was still a prince of the blood, a man born into the monarchy, someone who deserved access, privilege, and proximity to power. He convinced himself that William's decision wasn't just strict, it was betrayal, a personal strike, a message that he was being erased, step by step, from the world he once walked freely. Instead of reflecting on his own behavior with Charlotte, or acknowledging how inappropriate and uncomfortable he had made her feel, he blamed everyone else. He said the palace overreacted. He said William was emotional. He said the staff was exaggerating. But everyone who saw the fury in his eyes could tell. This wasn't just anger. It was fear disguised as pride. Because beneath the shouting, Andrew was rattled. Being banned from family areas wasn't like losing a title or giving up a patronage. This was different. This was personal space, private space, a space where only trusted people were allowed. And he had just been told, most quietly and clearly, that he was no longer trusted. He marched toward King Charles, demanding a reversal. He said the decision was unfair, that it made him look guilty, that William was acting like a ruler instead of a son. But Charles didn't even argue. He simply responded, "It's already been addressed." Those 4 words struck Andrew harder than any tabloid headline ever had. The message was obvious. Charles was not going to save him. That moment cut through Andrew's ego like ice. He wasn't just being shut out, he was being shut down. And it wasn't outsiders doing it this time. It was his own family. The anger inside him twisted again, this time in a darker direction. His frustration turned toward Kate. He convinced himself that she was behind everything, that she influenced William, that she played innocent while pulling strings in the background. In Andrew's version of events, Kate wasn't a mother protecting her child. She was a strategist using the moment to destroy him. But the truth was painfully simple. Kate had said nothing. She hadn't leaked a word, hadn't fed a headline, hadn't hinted to a single reporter. The very next morning, she simply walked beside Charlotte, calm and steady, during a quiet visit to a children's care center. No statements, no interviews, just a silent message. She was focused on her daughter, not the drama. That silence infuriated Andrew even more, because it worked. Public sympathy leaned toward William and Kate without either of them saying a word. Meanwhile, Andrew found himself isolated. For the first time, palace staff were no longer rushing to fix his problems or soften his image. No one was running to defend him. They kept their distance, polite, professional, cold. The soft influence Andrew once enjoyed had vanished. People who used to return his calls now took messages instead. Advisors who once offered solutions now offered silence. It was a quiet rejection, but a powerful one. The walls were closing in, and he could feel it. Desperate to regain control, Andrew shifted his anger outward. He hinted stories to contacts, tried to spin narratives, and tried to cast doubt on William's leadership. But the world wasn't listening. Not this time. Not when images of a shaken young Charlotte were still fresh in the public mind. Images of a little girl who just wanted a peaceful day, not an uncomfortable encounter with an uncle who didn't respect boundaries. Andrew could feel the balance shifting against him, and every attempt he made to fight it only dragged him deeper. Yet instead of stopping, he dug in further, sweating with resentment, blinded by pride, convinced he could still win. But outside palace gates, something much bigger was already building. Headlines were forming. Social media was sharpening. The country was choosing sides. And just as Andrew prepared to strike back again and defend himself at all costs, the world responded. Which voice shout the loudest? And who would the people believe? Don't miss what comes next. Andrew, under fire, the public turns after Charlotte's scandal. At first, the palace tried to bury everything under silence. No statements, no clarifications, no acknowledgement of what had happened between Andrew and Princess Charlotte. But the walls of Buckingham Palace have never been good at keeping secrets. Soon, whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs turned into chatter, and within hours, the press caught the scent. A single leak from an insider lit the fuse. The story exploded across newsrooms. Charlotte would no longer appear beside Andrew at future royal events. That was all the media needed. Within minutes, headlines were everywhere. William protects Charlotte. Firm draws the line. Andrew iced out. By sunrise, the narrative had already formed, and it wasn't kind to Andrew. Social media reacted even harder and far more brutally. Hashtags spread across timelines with the speed of wildfire. Hashtag Team Charlotte, Stand with William, Protect our Princess. Comment sections flooded with outrage, shock, and disbelief. People who never cared about the monarchy were suddenly glued to every update, defending a child they had never met. The public tone was fierce and emotional. She's just a little girl. You don't get near someone's daughter like that. William did what any real father would do. Andrew has crossed too many lines. Enough is enough. Charlotte became more than a princess. She became a symbol. To many, she represented innocence, safety, and the duty every parent has to protect their child, royal or not. People rallied behind William, praising him for acting quickly instead of hiding behind palace protocol. Even traditional royal supporters, usually calm, private, and slow to react, broke their silence. They didn't speak for drama. They spoke for dignity. They spoke about boundaries. And they spoke for a little girl who didn't deserve the humiliation of being at the center of such ugliness. But the backlash was not one-sided. A smaller but loud group questioned whether William had gone too far by cutting Andrew off so publicly. Some wrote, "One mistake and he's banned from everything?" A private warning would have been enough. Others suggested a hidden motive. This feels like power, not protection. William wants control. That's all this is. A few even doubted the entire story, calling it staged palace PR. We never heard Andrew's side. We never heard Charlotte's side. Convenient, isn't it? One user posted. Another wrote, "Kids fight, kids clash. Why turn it into a royal war?" Yet even with the pushback, the majority opinion remained firm. A line had been crossed and William had every right to slam the door. The louder question was no longer whether Andrew was wrong, but how far William would go to keep him away, for good. And that outrage, that divide, that storm of emotion, only pushed the story in one direction, back to the history between these two men. Now let's take a deeper look into Andrew's past clashes with William. Could this be where the rift truly began, and the real reason behind William's brutal decision? Stay tuned. William's ruthless mission to protect the crown at any cost. From the outside, the royal family likes to present a united front. Perfect smiles, polished speeches, carefully staged photos on palace balconies. But behind the glossy image, Prince William has been fighting a battle many royal insiders never expected. The battle to contain his own uncle, Prince Andrew. And according to multiple reports, William wasn't just annoyed by Andrew. He saw him as a full-blown threat to the future of the monarchy. To understand how things reached this boiling point, you have to look at the moment Andrew's scandals exploded across global headlines. While King Charles tried to keep the situation managed and quiet, William saw something much more dangerous unfolding. Andrew wasn't just embarrassing the crown, he was dragging the entire royal brand through the mud. And William, who has spent years earning public trust and carefully shaping his reputation as the modern, stable future king, reportedly believed Andrew had become a public liability. In blunt terms, a ticking time bomb. Behind palace walls, the conversations were brutal. William and his advisors reportedly used words like pariah, danger, and irreversible damage. This wasn't personal anymore. It was strategic. Public opinion polls were plummeting whenever Andrew's name resurfaced, and William knew that once the royal brand is stained, it's almost impossible to clean. To him, protecting the future throne, not Andrew's feelings, was the priority. The more Andrew clung to royal privileges, the more William feared it would cost the monarchy its last scraps of credibility. And that's where the second chapter of their silent war began. William's mission to push Andrew out of the Royal Lodge. Now, Royal Lodge isn't just any property. It's a luxurious, high-profile residence on the Windsor estate, a place that signals status, privilege, and proximity to the crown. Andrew had been living there for years, alongside his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. But as his scandals deepened, William reportedly believed Andrew no longer deserved the visibility, comfort, or symbolic power that came with that address. In William's eyes, Andrew should have stepped back quietly. Instead, Andrew fought to stay, digging in his heels, refusing to leave, and clinging to the life he once had. And that resistance infuriated William even more. According to multiple insiders and royal commentators, William began pressing for Andrew's removal. Not subtly, not gently, but with a firm, strategic push. To William, every day Andrew remained at Royal Lodge was a reminder of the palace's hypocrisy, preaching integrity in public while sheltering scandal in private. William didn't just want Andrew sidelined, he wanted him out of sight, off the grounds, and out of the royal spotlight. A clean separation, full distance. And here's what made it even more intense. King Charles wasn't moving fast enough. Charles still carries emotional history with Andrew. William, on the other hand, sees the monarchy through a colder, more modern lens. This isn't the 1980s. This is an era of social media, leaked documents, and 24-hour scandal cycles. William believes survival requires swift, unapologetic decisions. In his calculation, Andrew wasn't family first. He was reputational hazard number one. As pressure built, leaks began hitting the press. Stories painting Andrew as stubborn, entitled, and refusing to leave Royal Lodge. Other stories framing William as the one pushing for accountability. Whether those leaks were accidental or intentional, one thing became clear. William wanted the world to know he wasn't tolerating Andrew's shadow any longer. Not on his watch. And behind the scenes, Andrew felt cornered, humiliated, and increasingly isolated. Once a senior royal with military honors, global connections, and a luxurious public life, he was now being treated like a problem to be contained, a dynasty embarrassment. A liability to be moved like unwanted furniture. And William? He wasn't backing down. What most people don't realize is that this Royal Lodge showdown was never just about real estate. It was about symbolism, status, power, and the message William wanted to send before he became king. But William isn't the only one shaken by Andrew's actions. Princess Kate has her own painful reasons for refusing to stay silent. What did Andrew do to her personally? Keep watching, because the truth we're about to uncover is even more disturbing than you think. Kate versus Andrew. The insult that sparked a royal rift. When the public sees Catherine, Princess of Wales, she is calm, elegant, and universally admired. But behind palace doors there is one royal figure she reportedly cannot stand to be around: Prince Andrew. According to multiple biographies and tabloid investigations, the tension between Kate and Andrew didn't just appear out of nowhere. It began with a private insult, one that Prince William has never forgotten. Several royal writers claim that Andrew made rude or dismissive remarks about Kate Middleton in the early years of her royal life. At a time when Kate was still adjusting to the pressure of royal expectations, Andrew allegedly belittled her, questioned her status, or made comments that left both Kate and William deeply offended. Sources told Fox News and the New York Post that this was one of the earliest sparks that triggered a long-running rift between the future king and his disgraced uncle. In William's eyes, Andrew didn't just cross a line, he disrespected his wife, the woman he had waited nearly a decade to marry and protect from palace snobbery. From that moment onward, William's attitude reportedly shifted. Privately, he began distancing himself, and later, he supported efforts to remove Andrew from Royal Lodge. The biography suggests that Andrew's rude comments about Kate were not forgotten or forgiven, and they eventually became part of the fuel behind William's quiet campaign to push his uncle further away from the center of royal life. And the distance wasn't just emotional, it became physical. Reports from Cosmopolitan and Yahoo News indicate that William and Kate can't abide having Andrew living so close to them on the Windsor estate. Royal Lodge, where Andrew continues to reside, is not far from Adelaide Cottage, the family home of William, Kate, and their children. Instead of feeling like neighbors, the Waleses reportedly feel uncomfortable, irritated, and unable to fully escape Andrew's shadow. It wasn't about a single insult anymore. It became a pattern of distrust, frustration, and disgust, especially as Andrew's scandals grew. When Andrew refused to move out of Royal Lodge, even after losing his royal duties and military roles, it only deepened the resentment. From Kate's perspective, his presence was a stain on the family's public image. From William's perspective, Andrew was defiant, entitled, and refusing to accept reality. And then came the most symbolic move of all: exclusion. According to The Sun, Kate refused to allow Andrew at her annual Together at Christmas carol concert. Palace officials reportedly considered hiding Andrew in the audience by seating him behind a pillar, making him invisible to cameras. An arrangement Kate flatly rejected. She didn't want him there at all. Not as a guest, not even as a background prop. This was a clear statement. Andrew is not welcome in her space, her events, or her public projects. All of this reveals something bigger than a one-time insult. The rift between Andrew and Kate is rooted in disrespect, strengthened by scandal, and widened by distrust. For Kate, Andrew is not just problematic, he is unwanted. For William, it is personal. So what do you think about Prince William's bold decision? Did things go too far? Can moments like this really reshape the future of the royal family? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.